So I'm Julia Turner, and this is my first individual blog about The Walking Dead. Today we actually did the reading on the first chapter. So what happens here is, just to give you a background of what we read, was the opening to the series. You see Rick, who is the protagonist. You follow him through waking up from a coma and realizing the zombie apocalypse has happened. He kind of takes a few days to adjust, which I guess is understandable, and figures out he has to go find his wife and kids, so he heads to Atlanta, which is the nearby city in which his wife has cousins who live there. So, my name is Julia Turner. I am doing my first individual blog talking about The Walking Dead, the comic book. I did the first chapter, in which we follow the protagonist, who is Rick. He is a police officer who was recently shot, ends up in a coma because of it, and when he wakes up, he realizes the hospital has been abandoned and he is actually in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. He decides to go find his wife and kids, so he heads to Atlanta. But upon arriving, he realizes that's where it's the worst. There are zombies everywhere. But in the midst of all this, he runs into another not dead person and follows him back to camp. It turns out his wife and kid, along with his buddy, who actually is a police officer alongside of him, are all safe and sound. Anyway, so you kind of see them realize they need to protect themselves. So a few points about the reading that I really wanted to cover were some things that stuck out to me. First of all, one of the things that bothered me the most was there was a couple of inconsistencies with the writing. For the first thing is Rick is actually shot and hurt really badly, ends up in a coma. Well, he's supposed to be in a coma for a month and wake up in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. Unfortunately, I found this a little unrealistic, as the hospital has been abandoned by any and all personnel. So Rick is essentially unconscious for a month without help. Also, there's the fact that the hospital was infiltrated by zombies who were biting people. So, because they seem to have gotten everybody else in the hospital, or everybody else was able to run away, it seems like all the unconscious coma patients would have been found by the zombies and gotten bitten. So it just seems to me that he would have been actually, hurt as well. Another big thing for me were the gender roles. It kind of ticked me off a little bit. During the story, the men go hunting, the women do laundry, they watch the kids, the men take care, they're on guard, they're expected to be good with the guns and weapons, and they're considered to be the protectors, as opposed to the women, who take on this very feminine, very maternal role. They don't actually have that much to do with protecting themselves. That's kind of the guy's job. It really made me mad that it actually draws attention to itself in the book, and nothing is ever actually done about it. The women are going to do laundry, and one of them speaks up and says something along the lines, when we get back, I wonder if we're still going to be able to vote. I thought that was a really interesting point. I thought that was a great thing to bring up. But the other two women who are actually there in the scene with her are just like, no, this is what we need to do. This needs to happen. Don't overthink it. Obviously, we're just doing what we can. It's just expected of them to do laundry, so they take on the role. And then, of course, you get this one scene where this little 7-year-old boy, who's been taught how to use guns, actually ends up saving his mother by shooting a zombie when the mother doesn't know how to react after she has been trained with a gun. So the last point that really bothered me was the fact that there's this love triangle that's actually enough to cause Shane to completely go off the wall. You see him confront Rick, doesn't listen to Rick. You see him being completely illogical when it comes to basically how to live. He insists on staying in one place, which personally I can understand, but he doesn't listen to reason. Instead, he kind of just freaks out that Rick is back when they were considered to be friends back home because he's in love with his wife. So it seems to me that he would be a lot less concerned about who he has a crush on and rather how they might actually survive. So I just thought that was a little unplausible as well. So overall, this was actually a pretty interesting read. I have nothing to do with The Walking Dead at all. This book is my first experience at all with zombies. So it was an interesting idea. I really liked it. I can't wait to see what happens next. So I am very excited to discuss this in class and to see what's going to happen next week.